Describe a family member who you want to work with in the future. In the future, I would love to work with my father. He is someone I deeply admire and respect. My father is an emergency nurse, and he has sacrificed so much for his medical career. He often works long shifts, including night shifts, which means he spends more time in the hospital than at home. Despite his demanding job, he is a loving and devoted family man. He is hardworking, kind hearted, and possesses many admirable qualities that I aspire to learn from. Describe a skill that you learned from older people. One of the most valuable lessons I learned from my father is patience and perseverance. He always tells me to be patient, to take things slowly, and never to give up halfway. Since I tend to lose interest quickly and struggle with endurance, his advice has always stayed with me. I constantly remind myself to be more persistent and resilient, hoping to become a person as strong and determined as my father. Describe a person who has chosen a career in the medical field, e.g., a doctor, a nurse. Being an emergency nurse is a difficult and selfless profession. My father's job is physically and mentally exhausting, and it comes with a lot of risks. Yet it is also an incredibly meaningful career, as he has the ability to save lives and help those in critical conditions. Despite the hardships, he remains dedicated to his work, which I believe is truly admirable. Describe a job that is useful to society. The role of an emergency nurse is vital to society. Medical professionals like my father work tirelessly to care for patients in life-threatening situations. They play a crucial part in saving lives, providing immediate medical attention, and ensuring that people get the urgent care they need. Although this job requires significant sacrifices, it is one of the most rewarding and impactful professions in the world. Describe a park garden you enjoy visiting. Besides his medical career, my father has a great passion for gardening. Our home has a small yet beautiful garden that he carefully takes care of. I love spending time there because it holds so much love and effort from both my parents. The garden is filled with fruit trees, vegetables, and herbs, making it not only a peaceful retreat, but also a source of fresh, homegrown food. Describe a person who often buys at the street market at a cheaper price. My father is also quite skilled at bargaining at the local market. Even though he is a man, he knows exactly how to negotiate and get the best deals. He often buys gardening tools and household necessities at incredibly low prices, which I find impressive. I truly admire how resourceful and practical he is, managing both his profession and personal interests with great efficiency. Describe an old person you know who has had an interesting life. Director Park has spent over 30 years in the film industry, dedicating his life to cinema and artistic expression. As someone deeply passionate about his craft, he has experienced a life filled with creativity, challenges, and achievements. I believe that people who devote themselves to the arts with such burning passion always lead fascinating lives. Every project he has worked on carries a part of his soul, and his journey as a filmmaker is truly inspiring. Describe an ambition that you haven't achieved. Since I have a profound love for all forms of art, whether it's music, film, or literature, I greatly admire those who have the courage to pursue their artistic dreams. Seeing someone like Director Park, who has spent decades creating meaningful works, makes me long for the same path. I wish I had the courage and resources to chase my own artistic dreams in the future. If I ever have the opportunity, I hope to step into the world of creativity and make something that truly resonates with people. Here's a well-structured story incorporating all the topics smoothly. Describe someone you like to spend time with. Director Park. Director Park is someone I truly enjoy spending time with. Our conversations are always deep and insightful, often lasting for hours. Despite being over 50 years old, he has an incredible amount of wisdom and life experience to share. To me, he is like a mentor, a father figure, and a friend all in one. Describe an old friend you have lost touch with and got in touch with again. 2 years ago, I met him in South Korea, and we became friends. However, after returning to Vietnam, I lost contact with him completely. Fortunately, 2 years later, he visited Vietnam for a press conference to introduce his new film. I attended the event and had the chance to reunite with him, allowing us to reconnect and stay in touch again. Describe an interesting discussion you had with your friend. Since he has lived for more than 5 decades, he has a wealth of knowledge and countless fascinating stories. Every time we meet, we engage in deep discussions, and I always come away having learned something valuable. His thoughts and insights are truly something I admire. Describe a story someone told you and you remember. One of the most memorable stories he shared with me was about how he learned to incorporate music into his films. He told me that the key to mastering this art was to read extensively, listen to a wide variety of music, and develop a deep passion for both music and cinema. Although his explanation was quite abstract and complex, I still remember it vividly. Describe a person who thinks music is important and enjoys music. After hearing his story, we had an intriguing discussion about music. I asked him if he had a particular taste in music, and I was surprised to discover that his preferences were vastly different from mine. The songs he introduced to me were complex and not easy to listen to casually. They required patience, thought, and serious engagement to truly appreciate. It made me realize why his films are so profound, thought-provoking, and emotionally haunting. They reflect his unique artistic vision and deep connection to music. Describe a person who always has strong opinions. Director Park is also someone with very strong opinions, especially regarding music and cinema. He refuses to make commercial films just to please audiences or generate profit. For him, filmmaking is about passion, artistic expression, and the pursuit of true creativity. His films carry a distinctive signature that only he can create, and his dedication to art is something I deeply respect. Describe an old person you know who has had an interesting life. His life has been incredibly fascinating. He has dedicated decades to filmmaking, constantly challenging conventions and pushing artistic boundaries. Through his experiences, he has seen and learned so much about the world, making him an inspiring figure to listen to and learn from. Describe an ambition that you haven't achieved. After talking to him, I realized that I too have a deep love for cinema. But unlike him, I have yet to achieve anything significant in this field. I have always dreamed of making a film, but I have never taken the first step. His words and dedication made me reflect on my own ambitions, and I hope that one day I will have the courage to pursue my. Here's a simple and concise story combining all the topics. Hannah, describe a place in a village that you have visited. I once visited a small village in South Korea with my old friend, Director Park. This village appeared in his famous movie Mother. I still remember how it looked in the film, poor, desolate, and struggling. When I finally saw it in real life, it felt exactly the same. The houses were old and worn, and the villagers seemed to live a hard life. It was fascinating to see how the movie had captured the village's true essence. Describe an interesting place you have been to with a friend. Going there with Director Park made the experience even more special. He told me stories about filming Mother and how this place had once been full of life. I could feel his deep connection to the village. Walking through the same streets that had appeared in the film was like stepping into a scene from his masterpiece. The atmosphere, the rustic charm, it all felt surreal. Describe a quiet place you like to go. The village was incredibly quiet. There were only a few people still living there, making it feel almost abandoned. There were no busy markets, no loud conversations, just the sound of the wind and birds in the distance. It was peaceful, yet it carried a sense of loneliness. The silence allowed me to fully absorb the surroundings, making the experience even more memorable. Describe a time you visited a new place. This village was a completely new experience for me. Despite its simplicity, it left a deep impression on me. Seeing it in person made me appreciate the raw beauty of untouched places. It felt like stepping into a forgotten world where time moved slower and life was much simpler. Describe a tourist attraction that very few people visit but you think is interesting. According to Park, this village used to be a well-known tourist attraction. However, over time, fewer and fewer people visited. Maybe it was because the place lacked excitement or modern attractions. It had no fancy restaurants or entertainment, just the village itself. But for me, as a fan of Mother, it was a hidden gem. The scenery, the memories from the movie, and the emotions it evoked made it one of the most special places I had ever visited. This version keeps it simple, engaging, and well structured. Here's a simple and well structured story incorporating all the topics. Describe an occasion that you lost something in public. When I visited the village with Director Park, something unfortunate happened. I lost my phone. My phone is something I always carry with me, and I never leave it behind. But perhaps I was too careless that day, and somehow I lost it. I searched everywhere but couldn't find it. I felt so upset, thinking that I had lost it forever. Describe a time when you organized a happy event successfully. That day was also my birthday, and I wanted to do something special. I decided to organize a small birthday celebration in the village and invited my friends, including my dear friend, Director Park. Despite losing my phone earlier in the day, I still wanted to make the most of the occasion and enjoy the moment with the people I cherished. Describe a special meal someone cooked for you. A truly heartwarming surprise was that Director Park himself cooked my birthday meal. He even made a birthday cake from scratch. It was a touching moment because I never expected him to prepare something so special just for me. Describe a type of favorite food that you ate at a special event. The birthday cake he made was my absolute favorite. I have always loved cakes, and his was incredibly delicious. The sweetness was just right, with a perfect balance of rich flavors. The decorations were beautiful, proving that his artistic sense extended beyond filmmaking. Describe a person who is good at making things by hand, toys, furniture, etc. To my surprise, Director Park turned out to be highly skilled in baking. He jokingly said he had the hands of a chef, and after tasting his cake, I had to agree. He made everything by hand, carefully decorating the cake with an artistic touch. It was clear that his creativity wasn't limited to movies. He was truly gifted in crafting beautiful things. Describe a time when someone gave you something that you really wanted. At the end of the birthday celebration, Park suddenly handed me a gift. To my shock, it was my lost phone. He told me that he had found it near a river in the village, but wanted to keep it a surprise until the right moment. I was overwhelmed with happiness and gratitude. My phone was not just an expensive item, it was something I valued deeply. Having it back, especially in such an unexpected way, made the day even more unforgettable. This version keeps the story simple, natural, and emotionally engaging while including all the topics. Let me know if you need any tweaks.